I feel like a wreck, guys. Or, I'm sorry, I feel like the Daytona 500.
I was going to say, there's a lot of race cars that probably feel like that, too. Heyo.
Ryan Preece.
Starting off with a funny joke.
Ryan Preece is the Ryan Newman regen.
Just without any of the qualifying speed.
I mean, he would have been on the front row if not for something we're going to discuss in a little bit. So, you know.
Hey, you know.
Yeah, no.
Cry about it, I don't know.
It was the Daytona 500, wasn't it?
It was
happened.
It definitely was a race. It was one of them on the calendar.
It happened.
Which is sad, right? Like,
I enjoyed it.
No, okay.
I thought it was a
good race.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like all of the like, pomp and circumstance around it, like, just is so negative. And I think that's just the bubble that, unfortunately, NASCAR fans are in right now. Is a very negative one.
I have not been on social media at all for the last 2 weeks. So
then you've been living a great life.
Genuinely had no idea this is how people were responding to it. I literally didn't look at my phone at all.
Oh, it's the end of days, Matt. It's the end of days.
Yeah, it was pretty doom and gloom, which I don't fully agree with, but
minus
that's why we have this show.
I was gonna say minus some of the pre-race shenanigans. I would say go outside.
What? You didn't like seeing Air Force One for 30 minutes during pre-race coverage?
No, that sucked. Don't get me wrong, that sucked. I did loudly boo my TV and say some other things that I can't say on the podcast.
Of course.
But I did watch the Daytona 500 outside, so
nice.
Touching grass while watching the photos.
Literally, literally touching grass 100
Nice.
feet away from the ocean. So that was pretty cool.
Nice. Well, folks, we're back. Post Daytona 500 pre-Atlanta edition Fake Racers podcast.
We're back.
That was Matt, who was touching grass. Davey, of course, here as well. I'm Joe. We're going to just go through everything racing related to the Daytona 500 NASCAR weekend down in Daytona. A lot of really good stuff coming out of the weekend, maybe some poor or negative stuff. We'll talk about it. First thing we have to talk about, though, guys, is, of course, William Byron taking home his second straight Daytona 500. It was served up to him on a silver platter, just like his race car and racing career. That was,
oh my gosh.
That was really mean because William Byron is, of course, very talented.
Gosh.
And I need to keep a very unbiased opinion, but rich parents, which, again, wish I was afforded that opportunity.
Oh my gosh, Joe.
What?
I love when we come into the show and one of you guys just takes like a wickedly aggressive angle that nobody else is expecting. Like the curveball that Davey threw at us at Martinsville last year with Ryan Blaney. We were just like, oh, this is the way it's going? Okay.
Do you remember when I used to make fun of William Byron for really liking candles?
Yeah.
Well, I'm turning into the thing that I hate. I really like candles. I always go to Marshall's and TJ Maxx and get like 2 or 3 candles.
That one confused me because that's like the one good thing about William Byron.
I know. I thought it was weird because it was like just so. It's like a very bland thing to be like, oh yeah, he likes candles. You know what I mean? Like that's when you ask for an icebreaker, and I said, tell me one interesting fact about you. You wouldn't say, oh, I like candles.
Okay, so this just reminded me of a rant I've had for a while that I came up with in the off season. So the other interesting thing about William Byron is that he likes Legos, right?
Right.
And like NASCAR has a deal with Lego to produce sets. They produced 2 NASCAR Camaros, and both of them are generic race cars.
Yeah.
Why do they not have a deal with William Byron? The car even has flames on it. Just make this a William Byron car. What are we doing here?
The worst part is like they could just make Hendrick Motorsports cars because Hendrick gets all the if you ever noticed all of the NASCAR like mass retail stuff, it's always Hendrick. It's weird how it works out that way, you know. It's always Hendrick guys. It's never anyone else. Like the only NASCAR slot cars that are out there right now, they're Hendrick Motorsports drivers with Carrera. Go check them out. I like slot cars. And of course, you talking about the Lego deal, like golden opportunity right there, right? To get some of those
put
Chevy
24
teams
on it.
out there. I mean, I guess Kyle Busch doesn't have a really family-friendly sponsor, and I can't really think of any other Chevy drivers that, like, really do, except for the Hendrick guys. So, yeah, good point right there. William Byron won the Daytona 500. It's a great, release a Lego set. Go pretty hard.
This was one of the funniest Daytona 500 finishes I've ever seen. Maybe the funniest. And there's more layers to it, which we'll get into.
I think I was going to say that too. I think it was the funniest one.
Let's just work backwards. Why don't we?
Yeah.
So, last lap, Cole Custer was a menace. Big crash down the back. Go ahead.
Did you hear why he did that?
Can't wait.
His spotter was calling the wrong car.
His spotter was locked in on William Byron's car, and so the wreck happens, and he's still telling him, he's like, 45's one back, you're all clear, and then he pauses, and he's like, I'm so sorry, Cole, I've been calling the 24 this whole time.
Yeah, he called William Byron to the win while Cole Custer stopped in turn 3. Still behind us, Cole Custer's in the wall by himself. Like,
yeah.
He's probably, like, bracing for impact.
He literally the whole time. Like, Cole Custer's, like, wrecking, and his spotter's calling,
William Byron.
2 back, 1 back.
You're gonna do it, buddy. You're gonna do it. You're gonna win the day. Oh, crap.
Coming to the line here.
Marty Reed, is that you?
But that was, it was unfortunate that the race ended the way it did, because it felt like we were getting we were setting up for a pretty good battle between the 2 and the 11. 2 guys that are kind of... Austin Cindric is a very underrated super speedway racer.
Totally agree.
Especially at Daytona. I feel like he's a little bit better at Daytona than Talladega. And
I mean, he dominated the last time we were at Talladega, too.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true. But Austin Cindric, really good super speedway racer. Denny Hamlin was up there. Joey Logano had the best car. We'll talk about him in a moment. Ryan Blaney, of course, was up there all day long. Just kind of a who's who of super speedway racing, was up front all day long. And then William Byron wins.
Ironically, the argument for super speedway racing taking talent, they were all up there.
Yeah.
All just undone
all
by
day.
The finish that was,
Yep.
Essentially Cole Custer, like, in the moment looked like he made a really boneheaded move. Just completely covered a lane that just was, the line was taken. Caused a huge wreck. Denny was in it.
Cindric was in it.
Some other contenders. Yeah, Cindric was in it.
Byron was P9 across the start-finish line to take the white flag.
Byron was 13th at one point on that white flag lap.
Oh my god. Which, we got lucky that we even got that incident happening on the backstretch, because Riley Herbst was yoking some brodies through the triangle.
Shout out
and
Riley Herbst.
somehow hung
Okay,
on to it. Oh my god.
This podcast
I
has clowned on the guy way too much.
Not way too much. It was an appropriate amount for the time.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not gonna say I'm a Riley Herbst fan, but you know what? That was pretty sick.
It was pretty sick.
Yeah, because
I'm glad we bullied him into being a good driver.
And I think he still finished top 10 because of that crash.
Yeah, he still got a top 10.
I didn't know that, actually.
It saved him.
Know that.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a freak accident in terms of, like, I feel like it's one of the, everyone always wants to say, oh, it's super speedway racing or the blah blah blah. I think that's we've talked about this a couple times on this show over the years.
Cop-out.
That's a BS thing that's a BS media take.
Funnily enough, that is like everyone who was raving about Denny Hamlin's rant at the beginning of Action's Detrimental basically said exactly that. Like, copied our talking points about that, like, word for word, bar for bar.
And we've been saying it for since I think
2 years.
at least. I thought we were talking about it 2021.
I mean,
feel
probably.
like we were talking about it, but
I feel like he was saying stuff that we have said almost verbatim. Like,
oh yeah.
How we talk about how, like, oh, people say, oh, it's just super speed racing, where we're like, oh, but it doesn't have to be, and here's why. Like, you can do this, you can do that, and, like, literally, like, you could have pasted our voices over Denny Hamlin in that moment. By the way, if you know the reason to listen to us, we're ahead of the curve.
We are ahead of the curve. So when we talk about something very exciting to me later on in this show, we're ahead of the curve. But yeah, I think the one thing I didn't agree with Denny on, because I mean you bring him up, he talks a lot about like, oh well, we're put in a box, and we've talked about everyone complaining about getting put in a box. That's also a cop out. These guys don't have to go out there and slam draft each other. They've shown that they don't have to. They've shown that they don't have to just go out there and fuel save. Shout out to NASCAR for those fun flags throughout the race. Because
I was mentioning, the environment I was watching, and I couldn't fully hear the TV, and so I was wondering. I was like, I wonder if that's what's going on here.
40 laps to go, there was debris.
Yeah, because that was the
Dale
first
Jr.?
time in a very, very long time I've seen a debris caution where they didn't show it, like what it was on TV.
Yeah. So, I think it's something that NASCAR is going to evaluate this next offseason with stages and super speedway racing, and they're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the teams with this car, they're still going to find a way to make that last stop short, as short as possible. But
and it's never going to be enough for them. They're always going to try and posture to get more and more from NASCAR.
Oh, of course,
so
that's their job.
Don't expect the teams to stop complaining.
And that's their job, right? And NASCAR's job is to say, no, these are the rules, and you need to play by them. And you know what? If you guys get out of line, we're going to put you back in line. At the end of the day, that's their job. And that's not to talk about legal proceedings and revenue sharing, and that's a whole different thing. But when we talk about actually officiating the sport, NASCAR's job is to keep the teams in line. The team's job is to continue to push NASCAR to make the sport more entertaining and more competitive. It's not supposed to be the other way around, which it feels like it is.
Yeah, agreed.
Look at us go. I can't wait for Denny to say that this summer. Ryan Preece goes airborne again. The best camera shot, of course, was off of Eric Jones's car, and you just see Ryan Preece slam on the brakes. You see his front wheels stop moving. Like, buddy, that's not going to help, but you know what? Good for you.
That is there are a lot of really not funny videos of car crashes, but like videos of car crashes where a car is in the air and the brake lights come on. That's just like it just does not ever not make me smile a little bit, because they are hauling ass and they're going up dog and they are slamming the brakes. Like,
it's like that F1 clip of when Sebastian Buemi's front wheels blew off and he's still steering as he's going into the gravel trap.
Preece's comments after the wreck were a little jarring in terms of he said this one was a lot scarier, or at least this one went quiet.
I can kind of get it though, because I feel like that wreck had a lot of the 2023 one had a lot, like, it happened really fast, right? Like, it happened and he was in it and then it was over. Like, it was just like, this one I feel like had a lot more anticipation to it. There was the initial contact, like he was probably watching Christopher Bell come down the track and he probably like kind of anticipated making contact. He ramped off of the left front tire of Christopher Bell and he was wheeling for hundreds of feet, once again waiting for whatever was going to happen next, and the car turns and gathers that air and flips and lands hard back on the track and kind of rolls up to the wall and then lands hard again after already taking some pretty substantial hits. Like, you know, I get what he's saying, you know. It makes sense. And is he, you know, I'll leave it up to the engineer here to talk about if he's right or not about knowing what to do and what's happening, but I do know that this one was like, especially that in car view of him, that was a rough watch. And I even kind of heard Mike Joy taking it pretty hard watching it. That was a big one.
Yeah, and like, I think a big part of it too is we haven't seen a lot of crashes like that in NASCAR. You know, we've seen, you know, like Austin Dillon when he went up into the fence in 2015 was a similar crash, but it wasn't just doing a wheelie and just taking off like you used to see prototypes do back in the day. Mm-hmm. So I think that's definitely part of it, because, you know, his flip at Daytona a year and a half ago was similar to what we've seen a lot of times. And we all kind of saw that and we're like, that's just what happens. But this one, it kind of gives you the concern of like, oh, okay. And like, luckily, like Ryan mentioned, he didn't get up into the fence at all, which could have been really bad. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of shocking to see.
Anytime you're sliding on your roof, that's not good, right?
Yeah.
The reason Newman's crash was so bad in 2020 was the fact that he got hit in the top
Like
of the roll
like
cage,
on
right?
the A-pillar, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because we have talked about it, and I think a lot of people have talked about it, and now I'm glad people are finally more prominent people are talking about it. But the fact that the underbody of this car is, again, flat is what causes a lot of these things to happen. And the reason why the underbody of the car is flat is to avoid teams trying to make it flat by machining components and whatnot of the car and looking for every little piece of aero that they can on the underbody. I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, we'll just take that piece off the car for super speedways." That's not going to fix anything in terms of now teams are going to just start messing with stuff underneath the car, and you're just going to have a whole different set of issues. Will it make things safer? I can't say. I do know it would most likely increase the liftoff speed necessary. So that would, I mean, in theory, that's better. But I also don't know what effects it would have to the overall speed of the cars in general. The scary part is, like, hearing a lot of people be like, "Oh, well, the roof flaps didn't deploy, blah, 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 blah," and all this stuff. And it's like, right, because the car was still going in the correct direction.
Yeah.
They said that on the broadcast, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, they didn't deploy. He's going forwards.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what they do.
Those roof flaps, the way they work, and there's also flaps underneath the car, that once it feels that the car, like, the way to think about it is once the car is going perpendicular to what is normal motion, that's when they start to deploy, because the idea is if that car gets around backwards, more air can get underneath the car, create lift, flip it over. Again, all of a sudden you're ramped like this. There's a lot of air getting underneath that car. High pressure, low pressure, not good.
I just don't know what the solution is other than fundamentally changing the car, because every single race car in the world that has a flat bottom, this happens. When you get the front end off the ground at air or at speed, they take off, and you're fighting physics at that point.
It's definitely maybe a slight oversight that we are the only racing series in the world that has a flat underbody that also maintains those kind of speeds most of the time.
Yeah. Like, the only thing that really compares is IndyCar sometimes, and back before they put the chicanes at Le Mans, So, who knows?
Well, nice. Hey, you bring up IndyCar. The only track that I feel like they even get up to speeds that would be a problem there is Indianapolis. And that is the only track you see cars flip. And when you see cars flip, when they ramp over each other, right? Yeah. That's the only time you see it happen. For the most part. Again, for the most part. So, yeah. Okay. I labeled this next topic Rockin' a Boulder because it perfectly describes the two drivers that we're going to talk about here, Joey Logano and Ricky Stenhouse. Before this Preece wreck, decided that they were going to have a dick measuring contest.
Accurate.
And Ricky threw a bad block. I'm going to give my opinions here. Ricky threw a bad block, but it worked. And then Joey decided to go for a hole that wasn't completely there. And Ricky tried to completely shut the hole when he shouldn't. So I think that's about accurate.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I know he was being pushed by Gregson, but he just kept pushing the issue. Like, it felt like a lifetime watching that wreck develop.
You knew it was happening live.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, I'm like, okay, Ricky, don't block him. You don't need to block him here. It's okay. And then he blocked him. I'm like, okay, all right, Joey. Like, it's okay. Calm down. He blocked you. You're faster. Like,
even if he wasn't getting pushed by Gregson, Joey Logano was still going to do that.
He never lifted, by the way.
Exactly.
They show his onboard. He never freaking lifts.
And I was watching that, and I saw the bad block, and I was like, oh boy. And then I saw Joey Logano go for the gap that wasn't there, and I was like, oh no. And then I saw like both of them, like Ricky made the block work even when it shouldn't have. Joey made that line work, like that gap work when it shouldn't have. But Ricky just like Joey just kept on coming, and Joey just kept on, Joey just kept on coming. Ricky just kept on turning left, and they eventually did have the wreck that we were watching for about a full 2 corners. When we were saying how the Daytona 500 was funny, this was the funniest moment.
It was.
This was, I was crying. I was laughing so hard at this. I was losing all composure.
But that's just super speedway racing.
They're putting us in a box, Joe.
They're putting us
We're in a box.
We're in a box.
Well, the thing that got me too is knowing Joey Logano, you would expect him to just not move and just let Ricky wreck himself. But instead he was like, no, I'm gonna make this pass. And then he didn't. Like, the entire time I was like, what are you doing? It's just so absurd.
I don't think either of them knew.
And of course, it's his teammate, Ryan Blaney, who gets the worst of it.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Also, I'm just now realizing that Cole Custer was in this wreck.
Yep.
Kyle Busch, ruined Kyle Busch's day. I loved Kyle's quote after this, by the way. The fastest car on the track was on a hurry to get in a wreck.
Kyle was... There was some things, because like the 8 team apparently didn't understand the DVP completely. And like NASCAR's already made, and I don't have it in our show sheet, and I don't really want to talk about it because it's too convoluted, and they made it simpler now anyways, so there's not a huge point in talking about it. But I was really hoping that Joey was still standing there when Kyle was doing his interview, because while they're interviewing Joey about the wreck, you see Kyle Busch just brooding in the background, and I'm like, oh, please keep Joey right next to Kyle while he shit talks him, because you knew it was coming. Because you know these guys don't like each other.
Yeah.
No.
But that was probably one of the best interviews of the weekend.
Yeah.
It was like there was a lot of joy in that moment watching that happen. I was sad that it ruined Kyle's day, but I mean, really, the 2 most likely suspects did exactly what you thought they would do. They just happened to do it together, and I loved it. I loved it. Had a blast.
What a funny race.
A very funny race. So with that being said, I want everyone to take this opportunity to pick one driver's performance in the Daytona 500 to highlight. Davey, you can go first.
Jimmy Johnson.
Hell yeah. Actually, I did want to mention this. Best ever race in Legacy Motor Club history. 2 cars in the top 5. Eric Jones, P12 as well.
Go, dude.
And a dual win that was ripped away from him.
Yeah, P3 and a dual win, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was a bad weekend for those.
God.
We'll get to
more on that later. Yeah. Jimmy had he barely avoided. Oh God, I forgot about the other big one. I have it in my notes, which is Joey Logano terrorizes the field the first time, where he had an engine problem.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
The whole field stacked up, and I pointed this out. There were 4 one-off drivers in the Daytona 500, and all 4 of them were in that wreck.
Yeah.
Junked Ross Chastain and Elio Castroneves. Jimmy spun it through the grass to miss it. Came back for P3, so that's pretty cool.
And Truex was involved.
Yeah, Truex was the other one. That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, no. Anyways.
Anyway.
Joe, do you want to go or should I go?
You can go.
I'm going to go with, and it's just funny because we just can't quit this guy. Corey LaJoy was friggin' awesome.
That was what I was going to say.
Do you want to do that one?
Nope,
should I go with my other one?
Nope.
Okay.
That's why I let you go.
I mean, the 2 of us, because Davey left the show briefly while we were talking about it. Like, you had to go take a break for a second.
I had to poo-poo.
Yeah,
we made so much fun of him.
We were talking about Corey's weird career decisions and his weird quotes and how, like, this deal with Rick Ware Racing is a put up or shut up move, and I don't think that's what he should be doing. But he put up. He was awesome this week, and I mean, he was he was a contender at the end of this race. And if he doesn't get caught up in that last lap wreck, he probably gets a top 5 in the Daytona 500. Like, Corey was awesome all weekend. So
no, he ran a fantastic 500.
Yeah.
I have a really lame one then, and it's Ryan Blaney because he still managed to get P7, and I believe he is the points leader after Daytona.
That's nuts.
I believe.
He would be correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So won the second stage. Obviously did well in his duel, and
Also want to give a shout out Justin Allgaier, P9 in
Yes.
Junior Motorsports' first ever Cup race.
Oh yeah.
So also overcame a wreck. So
Yeah.
Junior was
And
fucking
a really
pumped.
slow car.
Yeah, that thing was not fast.
But it's just a Hendrick car, herder.
Yeah,
They
no,
built it at the Hendrick shop, so that means it's a Hendrick car.
Yep.
It's not like NASCAR is looking over their shoulder the entire time.
Yeah, that shit. I don't. That's a non-starter for me when people start saying stuff like that, dude.
Yeah. I think people overestimate just how much money Junior Motorsports has. So.
Dale Jr.'s rich, isn't he? Speaking of the rich versus the hard-working guys, and the team that's looking for that hard-working spirit, and they're going to try to embody the blue-collar worker, while all the other teams have their, and I quote, fancy shoes. We're going to
The
be
team that's embodying the blue-collar worker, featuring one of our 2 Cup cars being filled by the most blatant Silver Spoon driver. Well, actually, sorry, second most blatant Silver Spoon driver. Ty Gibbs is the first one.
The team owner for that race team owns a winery.
Yeah.
The jokes write themselves.
It's great.
Oh my god.
But Jesse, I put Jesse Little.
I just realized that, yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse Love
Yeah. Just hello.
Yeah.
breaks Austin Hill's streak, but continues RCR's streak of winning the Daytona Xfinity race.
He probably wasn't gonna if Austin Hill didn't have that issue. He was.
Yeah,
Austin Hill
is on a tear.
He was untouchable in this race. It was unreal.
He was honestly like he obviously has been good at super speedways, but that was one of the better races he had ran up until that problem he had. He was making great moves. He was executing well. Yeah, no, I was there in person, and I'm being able to, like, I don't love Austin Hill or anything, but I cannot deny that he's one of the best. He is one of the best drafting drivers, probably right now in general, and definitely the best in the Xfinity Series, because the Xfinity Series drivers are horrible at it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
They need to learn.
Yeah, he led more laps in the first 2 stages of this race than he has in any other, I think, race he's ever won, which is nuts, because he dominates the super speedways every time we go to them. So, yeah, he was untouchable in this race. It really felt like.
But naturally, teammate Jesse Love, kind of not with as much flair as Austin Hill, but kind of did the same thing. Got his way up there and was able to see it out.
Well, it helps when you have good people around you, right?
The RCR cars were just so on rails, because you watched that run, like, probably the other 2 best cars were the 2 Haas cars, and Creed and Mayer would work for laps and laps and laps, and then finally put a run together and get by, and then Jesse Love would just drive right back by him again. It was like maddening to watch.
They would do that like run down the back straightaway, pull out at 3, get the side draft off the quarter, drop down to the bottom in the middle of 3 and 4, and just clear them, like, no matter what, every time. Pull right back up in front.
Yeah.
And it was just futile.
It was,
for anyone else.
It reminded me of, do you guys remember, if you've never watched the 05 Aaron's 499, that was a race that Jeff Gordon just absolutely dominated, and it was the same thing. Like, the field would gang up on him, take the lead, and then Jeff would just get him right back immediately after that. Like, it was just inevitable at that point. Yeah, pretty cool. I mean, Jesse Love's a NorCal guy, and my cousin's fiance, like, works in the dirt track racing scene and, like, knows Jesse Love, so I was watching the race with a bunch of avid Jesse Love fans, so it was pretty cool. But we'll use this moment to talk about Brandon Jones, because of course he was the first guy to get turned in this race, so as is tradition. So
of course. Of course. I guess one thing we can talk about while Davey takes his brief absence, because he was at the track, but the CW broadcast was
very
phenomenal.
Good. Yeah, it was so good.
Love the new, I don't know what you want to call it, but ticker, scoring pylon. Like that they put it at the bottom of the screen so it looks a little bit different. Gives them their own flair.
Okay. This reminds me of another rant I have that's been pissing me off for years. I absolutely hate the vertical ticker on the left side of the screen, because I'm gonna use this Lego set again as an aesthetic reference, because all TV screens are wider than they are tall. race cars are wider than they are tall. So you have all of this dead space here and here, and then we put it here. So you're cramming a rectangular shaped thing into a square box, and it sucks, and I hate it. So to have a horizontal ticker again that just perfectly frames the shot and doesn't block what the cars are going into, night and day difference.
They do need to shoot things a little bit differently though for that ticker. Like
Yeah.
some of those head-on shots, I feel like you lose a little bit of the action that would be typically at the bottom of the screen. But yeah, it's more aesthetically pleasing, and you can also get. I feel it wasn't that I think it had 5 more positions on it. I think they were able to get like 25 instead of 20. Let's say, but it was really clean. It was really good. It fit the CW branding, which is important. It's simple. Simple's good if you do it right. I'm looking at you, NFL on Fox. Because what the hell was that? What is their new? Anywho, we're not talking about that. But commentary was awesome. Adam Alexander is great at his job.
Oh, yeah.
And continues to be great at his job. And when he takes over from Mike Joy in the Cup Series, it's going to be awesome. Or I believe he's doing the Amazon and the TNT broadcast. I believe he's lead play-by-play for both of those, maybe?
I'll have to look into that.
He might be. I don't know. I feel like he probably should be because, again, really good at his damn job. And Rick Allen's doing the PA at the track, it sounds like, for the Cup Series.
I did notice that, yeah.
So, I thought that was interesting, too. Because I noticed that at Bowman Gray. But, yeah, a really great broadcast all around for the CW, especially considering they have a broadcast team that's fresh, that's new. Parker Kligerman, of course, hasn't done a lot of like play-by-play live like that, and then Jamie McMurray, I feel like always was a star in his roles when he was doing the drivers broadcast on FS1, and he continued to show that he will be a very good commentator for years to come.
Yeah, there was, which again we'll get into in a moment. There was something funny about Parker Kligerman calling that race because of what happened the day before. Just brutal. I do also want to mention, even though it technically wasn't fully his fault, we got a Chris Wright moment, so that was fun.
No, it was his fault.
Yeah.
It was all his fault. He blamed the spotter.
Dude, okay. So we watched that happen live.
He wasn't supposed to pit.
He had
no one ever called him to pit road.
He had so much room to get back up on track, too. It's like he just painted a target on the back of Josh Bilicki's car and then just gunned it. It was absurd.
I will say, something that friend of the show and I, Weaver, both discussed that day was just how grateful we were that we got to see a Chris Wright moment in person. We saw, like, the quintessential Chris Wright moment in person. Dude, that was awesome.
Like, I saw that crash happen, and then I didn't even remember what car he was, but I just saw the sponsor, and I was like, of course it was Chris Wright. Of course it was this guy.
Just want to let you know, everyone in the crowd was laughing. We were, like, everyone. Everyone. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
That was a Joey Stefano moment.
I did see that video in chat.
I made sure to go, I grabbed that video from my Snapchat at Daytona to make sure to put it in there.
Yeah, that was certified.
It was a classic.
Yeah.
Certified.
Yeah, looking back through results also, though, shout out Jordan Anderson, P7, and one of his few starts that he's going to make. And Bilicki still came back for a top 15 after getting murked coming onto pit road.
Dude, that car was perfect, by the way.
Yeah,
the back of Bilicki's car, no damage.
A shocking lack of damage on his car. I don't know how that happened. Bro's running moderate damage.
All right. Probably time to go to Davey's least favorite moment. Davey,
y'all could have talked about this while I was gone.
Parker Kligerman wins the Truck Series race. His appeal is tomorrow. They said he was too low in the rear. We'll wait for the appeal. But it was a pretty cool moment. You can see how special winning Daytona is.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's. I'm going to speak as a Parker Kligerman fan, not as an analyst or podcaster or commenter. Man, what a freaking bummer. But you can't take that celebration away, mine or his. I really hope the appeal I hope the appeal does something, because that team deserves it. They have one full-time employee. To give it to Corey Heim is a disgrace.
Yeah.
Compared to like one full-time person, Henderson Motorsports. Anyway, I don't know. I'm speaking to emotions right now. I do think there maybe are some cases. Apparently, from what I have heard in other NASCAR media things that I've read and listened to, there was a lot of that whole team is very angry. Parker's angry, like the team is angry about the process that they underwent in technical inspection post-race. Something procedurally that they were not happy with, that maybe other teams probably get some leeway with. So I would kind of have to wonder if that's maybe part of it.
Probably.
There was also some excuse me. There were also some suggestions that maybe the way he parked his truck at the end of when he was doing his celebration with the front tires on the banking and the rear on the apron, which I mean that they said it was a quarter inch, and that can account for a quarter inch. I bet.
Was it even a quarter? I thought it was less than that.
Eighth?
I think it was a 16th. I'm pretty sure it was only a 16th.
It might be a 16th. Hold
on. What was I going to say?
Shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, while you're looking for that, Landon Castle had a really good tweet about this, too, where he was talking about, like, when you, like, the worst thing that you can have happen sometimes is finish well with an undamaged car, because they're going to scrutinize the hell out of you.
And you're right, by the way, it was 1/16 of an inch. Excuse me. Yeah. And that could definitely account for 1/16 of an inch.
Yeah. So, I mean, that stinks. You know?
Hopeful.
Like, even as, like, I'm not a Parker Kligerman hater. I'm pretty neutral on him. I was like, that's pretty cool. You know, Henderson Motorsports is such a cool, unique team. Like, to go out and win the biggest race of the season, like, that's friggin' awesome. So I hope they win their appeal, because that sucks if that's the way this race goes down, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And it wasn't like it was a race that fell into his lap. Like, he had kind of made the moves to get up there kind of on his own without much help, really. And it was really impressive. You know, again, I'm speaking emotionally. I really hope that gets overturned because that'll be huge for that team. And Corey Heim will probably win a bunch of races this year. He'll be fine.
Heim time. All right. Let's, we good?
Oh,
good with Daytona?
A couple other cool things from Daytona. I was going to mention the Front Row Motorsports trucks absolutely blew the end of this race. No way they shouldn't have lost this race.
You're right. Friend of the show, Garrett Sidner, who works for Front Row, he has his hands on those trucks a lot. He was distraught.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him, because no reason. It wasn't as bad as Junior Motorsports in 2024 at Daytona, but
God.
Or Junior Motorsports at any super speedway, really. But
yeah, that if they don't win their appeal, Frankie Muniz gets top 10 out of it, which is pretty cool. So I'll take that as takeaway. And also Norm Benning, best ever lead lap finish, oldest driver to ever score a lead lap finish in NASCAR history at 73 years old, P16. That's as of right now. So Stormin' Norman, can't stop him. And also, that truck was genuinely fast this weekend. Like, they were fast in qualifying. So
I kind of love that. That's sick.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's still out there doing that, man.
Dude, yeah. Dude's rock. And then I love also when I don't pay attention super close to the silly season, because Caden Honeycutt wrecking from the lead on lap 4. I was like, oh, he's for Nice now. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Good for him. Hopefully the rest of the season goes better.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I had to say with the truck race.
Okay. Well, with that, let's go ahead and go from the shop. Chris Knight of CatchFence.com reports that Ram is poised to enter the Truck Series in 2026. Dodge potentially rejoining the Cup Series in 2028 if they can find an engine supplier. Yay!
So, isn't Dodge like shifting entirely to electric cars, or
no?
Okay. I know they're making a push, but I couldn't remember if they were one of the brands that was trying to go all electric.
The new all electric Dodge Charger, Scat Pack, and RT Stage 1 and Stage 2, Charger Daytona. There's the name of the car is way too effing long. It's now available on your dealer lots, but guess what? It's one of the cars that nobody asked for. There's also going to be... I like it, okay? I asked for it, but I know nobody else did, and I can admit that.
I'm not gonna lie, like I haven't really been following cars very much, and the new Charger has like literally no styling.
I like it. It looks so good.
I'm not saying it looks bad. It's just, it has no defining features.
It has it has the R-wing on the front.
Well, and that was the next thing I was gonna mention. Is I was like, I guess Dodge has a new logo. Okay.
No, it's
I just thought it was like another electric startup.
It's a new old logo. It's they had that logo in the late 60s.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, obviously we can tell what kind of cars I like.
Joe will know everything about Dodge.
The move that's not as surprising though is them trying to get the Ram brand back into the truck series. There's less components that are needed as far as OEM support. You don't have
because they're all crate motors, aren't they?
Crate motors, and then a lot of the body parts are common. It's pretty much just the nose and the tail that are gonna have to be made, and then of course stickers and OEM support to actually get teams to switch. I think this is probably how they lead back into the Cup Series if they can find that team that would partner with them. Don't know what team that would be, especially if they're looking for engine support, because right now there are only 3 engine makers. And Roush. I don't think,
Nope, not a chance.
Penske.
Not a chance.
They're not moving from Ford. Hendrick obviously is not moving. RCR not moving. So you're probably starting an upstart engine program somewhere.
TRD Dodge.
Yeah, TRD making Dodge motors. But if there is a manufacturer out there that could just join and not need new engine specs, it would be the Dodge brand because they've done it before.
Yep.
That's kind of one interesting thing that came out in Speed Weeks too, that NASCAR's testing some different torque. Oh my goodness, I'm missing the word, but just torque limiters and whatnot.
Sensors, torque sensors.
Yes,
and
thank you.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to what IMSA uses to be able to kind of bridge the gap between different engines the different OEMs have. So, I don't know. It's good to have more money in the sport. I don't know how well it's going to go.
I hope that it happens. So this joke that I'm about to make is not me deriding Dodge coming back to NASCAR. I genuinely hope they come back. But it is funny that over the last decade, we keep having speculation of remember when BMW was just tweeting that they were going to enter NASCAR, just out of nowhere. And then, every year it's oh, is this going to be that Honda enters? Oh, now we're hearing that Hyundai might enter. And then it's guess what? It's Dodge for the 3rd time. It's like how Renault keeps leaving F1 and then 3 years later they're actually, we want to come back, you guys.
It is kind of funny because that was my reaction when I heard it was Dodge. I was oh, again?
But again, at least in the trucks it makes sense because that's such a big brand in the States, right? I don't know what the plan is for the Xfinity series. We're going to talk about this Blazer EV that Chevrolet unveiled and GM. Stellantis, Chrysler brands, are they going to put a Jeep then in that series if that becomes the compact SUV series? I don't know. It's just there's some interesting things that are going to be at play here, depending on what each series looks like in the future.
Yeah. It's like that Jimmy Neutron meme though, where Sheen, this is the 3rd time this week that you've shown Dodge is coming back to NASCAR.
Hey man, it got me excited. Fox only had 17 minutes of full screen commercials for the Daytona 500. All green flag commercials, I believe, were side by side.
I believe you're right.
What I've heard. I did illegal things, so.
Yar.
I guess I didn't do anything illegal. I just got a little VPN. If any VPN companies want to sponsor us and let me let my computer be in Brazil every Sunday and watch the international stream on the NASCAR YouTube account.
Home of the Clash next year.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know we're not gonna fully get rid of all the sponsored segments that we had because that's annoying. But I mean, at least I could see the race.
Yeah.
One of the gripes that I've had with Fox for a while that pisses me off, which again, it's only like 5 seconds, but still annoys me, is they do the picture-in-picture, and then when they transition back from commercial, they do the full screen transition. I can't speak. And then they go back, and now they're just like, hey, here's the picture. Now it's the full screen. You don't actually miss anything. It annoyed the shit out of me every single time they do it.
Well, they did do it a couple times at the start of the race, and then they stopped doing it.
Yeah.
So I feel like throughout the race, they were like, oh, crap, yeah, we were supposed to stop doing that.
Yeah. Hey, Matt's upset. Knock it off.
There was another funny thing.
Matt's mad.
They were talking about Ryan Blaney, because Blaney was up at the front of the field. And then it was like the final few laps of stage 2, and they decided that they're going to do a full-screen deep dive into Penske's last year and a half in motorsports.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, guys, they're racing for the stage win. Can we not move away from that action? You know, you can talk about this during the stage caution, maybe.
Okay, yes.
That drove me up the wall.
Dude, that's a thing that the Supercross broadcasts do all the time that pisses me off, because there's so much downtime in between the different motos, and then they literally get bikes on track, and then they do a picture-in-picture, like, here's when we talked to this rider earlier, and I'm like, show this during the 20 minutes of filler before then. We don't need this now. I'm trying to watch the race. God, that drives me crazy.
Cause.
Yeah.
Again,
Despite this rant, it was better.
It was better.
It was better.
Same comments about the booth that we had from last year.
Yeah.
Clint Boyer just doesn't feel like he fits. Mike Joy is
Kevin's
tired.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think he's just exhausted because like he had to wrangle DW around for so long, and then they're like, "Hey, we're replacing DW," and he's like, "Oh, thank God!" And it's Clint Boyer, who's just like, if you gave DW, you took 40 years off his life and gave him way too many monster energies.
And Clint Boyer continues to try to get himself over for some reason. But Kevin Harvick's really good.
Kevin Harvick is good. I feel like Mike Joy, he's good enough for now, but man, they got to start looking at a replacement because it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, get that man a podcast.
From what I think the best way I can break down like why this booth doesn't work is like I'm not saying Boyer doesn't care about NASCAR, but like Darrell Waltrip was always like a big, kooky, excitable character, but he's so passionate about NASCAR and he's so emotionally invested. Yeah. And
Boyer can't turn it off.
Yeah. And Boyer is just like a cartoon character, or he sounds completely uninterested. And there's no in between.
Yeah, that's incredibly accurate.
Yeah. So Boyer would be a great like pit reporter, but
honestly, yeah, you're kind of right.
Yeah. Boyer would be a good studio host.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or studio analyst. Switch him and Jamie. And let's see what happens. Jamie McMurray, not Jamie Little.
Man.
I feel bad for her.
I do too.
Chevrolet unveiled their Blazer EV-SS prototype race car, coinciding with Ford's Mustang Mach-E race car. I assume Toyota's going to unveil their BRZ4 electric or Corolla Cross all-electric race car here pretty soon. Any thoughts? Any opinions?
Looks cool.
Yeah. It does.
I do love that that like the prospective SUV, the compact SUV series is essentially just going to like lower, it's going to be a race car, but it's going to be like built kind of like a compact SUV, which means it's going to be a compact SUV which is lowered, which is basically just going to make it like a hot hatch or like a wagon series, which I'm rocking with it. It looks good.
Welcome back,
I'm
BTCC
okay with it.
Volvo station wagon.
And here's
see that they don't see that. I see that. We see that. I'm just saying.
Here's how you make it
sick.
really interesting: is you put this
It's
series as like a precursor for the Cup Series on Sundays, or as an extra race on Saturday. You do
I don't
that, right?
think making it replace the Xfinity series overnight is the call. I think you make like a mini series out of this, and you take them to like Martinsville or New Hampshire or something like that, and you kind of work your way up to that.
Yeah.
Well, obviously not Chicago after this, but Chicago.
Yeah.
Whatever street race we decide to do.
San Diego.
There's something really funny too about like NASCAR and Chevy being like, check out our new car, and we're like, you built a touring car.
Yep.
you built a BTCC car.
That, sir, is a wagon.
Yeah.
But it's
NASCAR
cool.
NASCAR is Eurocuck.
Yeah, the BTCC is cool, but it's not a new thing. We've done this already.
Again, let them do it.
Sometimes,
It's fine with me.
You
It
just gotta
looks
let
great.
Children think that they came up with a new idea. So sometimes at work, right? You have this really good idea and you tell it to your team and they tell you it's a terrible idea. But then when they come up with it, it's a great idea. And you just, you know what, you stand back and you say, yeah, that is a great idea. And you pat yourself on the back because you thought of it 2 weeks ago. And then you let the rest of the team think that they figured it out. You know?
Yeah. It's like how tech bros keep reinventing trains.
Yeah.
And it's like, but what if we connected all the pods together?
What if
Individualized mass transit.
Yeah.
What if they drove themselves?
It always just reminds me of
What
the
if there
James May
was
quote where he's like, cars that drive themselves were invented years ago. They're called buses.
Interesting. Public.
What if there's a predetermined route for them to ride
Yeah,
on?
some sort of rail to keep them in line.
I'll have to think about that one. Chase Briscoe is going to have a lot of thinking to do this week and the next 4 weeks as he tries to build a relationship with his crew chief. They are appealing this penalty, but something was wrong with the spoiler. They made adjustments. They're going to say that parts got broken. Okay.
Read somewhere that they modified the bolts that the spoiler like mounting plate attaches that. I just want to read out verbatim the note that Joe put into the show sheet, which is Chase Briscoe has negative points, LOL, point and laugh.
And I like Chase Briscoe.
I did make the joke when we got in here that we all have more points than Chase Briscoe in the Cup Series.
Which I don't think is the first
Isn't that
time this has
exciting?
happened.
Now, Michael
No, it's
Waltrip
not.
in 2007, the whole rocket fuel fiasco with Michael Waltrip, and then he failed to qualify for the next 11 races. So Michael Waltrip spent a third of the season in negative points.
Well, you know,
A hood classic.
trying.
Jeez, man.
They're doing their best.
Well, not the best note to start your season on with your new team and new crew and whatnot, but
But he had a strong performance. He did
He
finish
did.
fourth
he did.
behind Jimmy Johnson.
He did.
I mean, he was
Oh.
also involved in the wreck on the last
We'll
lap.
we'll see when we get to the intermediates. Obviously, that's
Yeah.
kind of like we've talked about this before, but like I understand the reasoning for having two similar style tracks back to back at the start of the season. I, as a fan, however, hate that I cannot judge race teams until race 4.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Oh, God, I forgot that
Hate
we're
it so
going to
much.
Coda for the third race. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think we
That's
should.
right.
I think we should go to Homestead for race number 2, if we're gonna not put Homestead in the
I agree.
playoffs.
That would honestly
But-
be awesome.
But also, I don't. You know, I know like Florida's a really long state, so the fan overlap probably isn't that great. But there's probably more fan overlap between Homestead and Daytona than maybe Atlanta and Daytona. So I can also see why that would be like, hey, give them some time to breathe.
Yeah, and I know what they're because when is Homestead in the Cup season? It's like race
It is race
it's-
6.
was
Yeah,
6.
so it's after the West Coast swing. The
So that's like
westward
March
swing.
or whatever. That's
Yeah,
like somewhere in
end
March.
of March.
March 23rd. Yep.
Yeah, honestly, they could move it up because spring break here in Florida usually starts like March 1st, and so you could really capitalize on that kind of little bump, like like a little bit closer to the beginning or middle of March here down in Florida at least. Yeah, I that's like the only thing. I guess it's cool, like going to Coda and whatever, and going like I get the two similar style tracks, but man, I really wish that I could make fair assessments of race teams any point in the next week or two. It'd be nice.
Yep. Agree.
I concur.
Thanks, Joe. I was waiting for you to give us your scathing assessment.
Bottom split moment of the week. Anyone got one?
I got one, but
Mine's poor Eric Jones having to stand there on the start-finish line and then be told, "Oh yeah, you didn't win because NASCAR decided to throw yellow."
Wait, okay, I'll give NASCAR their flowers for this. They learned from their lesson, because I saw some people complaining that the finish of the 500 was kind of an overcorrection. I was fine with it. You know?
Yeah, same.
Like everybody pointed out at the finish of the duel, their reasoning was, oh, we had to throw the yellow because there were cars coming. Like, nobody's lifting. Even then, like, these guys know to lift if there's a car on the racetrack. Like, because it's not just like, oh man, like I can't hit, I'm gonna lose point. No, it's like, oh, I could get hurt and crash horribly if I run into this guy. I should probably do something to avoid that. Like, these guys aren't stupid.
I like the people going, oh yeah, just freeze the field behind the crash. Okay, William Byron, you have no longer won the Daytona 500. Someone else has won it.
Nobody wins the Daytona 500 because 1, 2, and 3 all wrecked.
Field is frozen.
God.
Oh my God. Yeah,
that was mine, because I was very sad Thursday night because I was so happy, and then it was like, oh. And then it was Austin Cindric winning, and I had flashbacks to 2022 when the two-car finally won the Daytona 500, and of course it was the first race that Brad wasn't in it, and it was just, it was that all over again. Anywho, who wants to go next?
I guess I'll go. It's moto related. You guys are going to have to deal with this. So, Supercross...
You say that every week, like we're like
because every time
bitching and moaning about you talking about motocross.
Well, for a while, every time I mention it, you guys are like, "Oh, here we go again."
That was more for show.
So, Supercross has a rule in place where if they have to red flag the race for medical reasons, if it's like within the first 3 laps, they'll just re-rack everybody on the gate and restart. After that, they'll do like a staggered restart where they line everybody up and then wave a green flag. But this is going to go to the AMA for not telling anybody about this. They used to have a rule that if a red flag came out after the 90% point in a race, they just end it right there. And they changed that rule a year and a half ago and just never announced it. And so this weekend was the first time we've had that happen, where they threw a red flag because Cameron McAdoo crashed and they red flagged it with 7 seconds left on the clock. 7 seconds.
What the fuck? What?
And then Cameron McAdoo got up and walked off the track. So they didn't even need to red flag it. He was fine.
God.
And so nobody knew what was going on because they never announced this. And then the broadcast, because they didn't know, displayed the wrong thing, that they said it was going to be a green-white checkered. And then they went for like 4 laps after that, and everybody was like, we don't know how many laps they're going for, so I guess this is the finish. We'll see a white flag eventually. And it ended up erasing Max Anstey's 7-second lead, and then Levi Kitchen got by him with those extra 4 laps they ran and won. And Max Anstey was pissed. So, it was a mess. It was a whole, like, this year's been great so far, and it was like both main events were really entertaining, but it was just an absolute mess. So, you gotta get it together, AMA.
Yeah. Man.
What you got, Davey?
It makes NASCAR stuff feel pretty good.
Yeah, it can always be worse.
Really good. Bottom split moment of the week. Dude, I don't, like, the Parker Clearman DQ sucked, but I just kind of, like, retcon that in my brain. Like, it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I don't.
It's okay.
I don't know.
It's okay to not have one.
I mean, I didn't have a stellar week or anything, but I certainly didn't have any.
Okay.
I don't think I had any real bad moments.
Well, then why don't you give us your Road to Pro moment?
My Road to Pro moment, you know what? I don't care that I talked about it. I always try to do something different. I'm not going to. Jimmy Johnson finishing 3rd in the Daytona 500. I don't care that there was a wreck. I don't care that yada yada, this, that, the other thing. I don't. I really don't. I don't care that everyone posts every single Legacy Motor Club news update because it gives them a chance to dunk on Jimmy Johnson. I don't care that John Hunter Nemechek's going to once again increase the damage bill for Legacy Motor Club, hampering their ability to get better because he wrecks every single race car he steps in. I don't care. Because Jimmy Johnson finished 3rd in the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
And he kept his car clean all day. And when the time came to get going, he was getting to going. He was making moves in the inside lane. He probably wouldn't have gotten 3rd. He probably maybe would have maybe been sniffing at a top 10 if they didn't wreck. But I'll be damned. You got third, and the best. I got to celebrate that, and I was so happy to celebrate that. And I didn't have to think about the damn winner. I didn't have to think about anything else. I could just be happy that Jimmy Johnson got third and ignore every other thing about the Daytona 500 that I didn't like and focus on what I did like. And that was a good outcome.
If he or Truex or one of these guys that's like running part-time wins the Daytona 500 one of these years, do they run the full season with the win in year end? As long as they're eligible for cup points when they run the race.
I guess it depends on who it is. If it was Jimmy, probably not. Maybe Martin tries, but I don't think Jimmy would.
Because I feel like Corey LaJoie would have been able to.
I was thinking that
Corey
same
LaJoie
thing. If LaJoie pulled that off, they were absolutely going to find the funding to run the whole season.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things. I'm not going to try to not parlay this into a rant about social media, but it is one of those things where just being mean is like a popular thing now, and it pisses me off. Like, I hate how fucking normalized it is.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, say what you will about rich people, but Jimmy's trying to build something. Like, he's actually using his money, and he's working. And so, like obviously, we've made a lot of jokes about Legacy Motor Club, but like I've always said, I critique to be proven wrong, you know? I want to be proven wrong about Legacy Motor Club, so that's awesome.
Me too. I'd like to ask them to put like merch on their store. Please.
Yeah.
Because they don't really have a lot on their store, and it makes me sad.
Yeah, just don't
Oh,
do anything
sorry, I have
cringe
another
like Stuart
Road to Pro
Haas did
moment
last
real
year.
quick. Because I didn't get a Bob split, I'm going to do 2 Road to Pros. My other Road to Pro was liking Connor Zilic, aka liking a junior motorsports driver, is the best thing in the world because you actually get to buy good-looking T-shirts.
Dude, junior motorsports
excited.
merch is so good. It's so good.
Dude, I'm so excited. I like a junior motorsports driver. I get to buy cool-looking T-shirts.
That's how
this is the best.
That's how I feel about RFK, because they have really good merch, and that's been really enlightening.
Dude, I almost bought a Brandon Jones shirt 2 years ago just because it looked so cool. And I was like, I've been talking mad shit about Brandon Jones for a decade.
Which Zillage shirt did you get? The blue or the black one? Oh, he's got it on. Okay.
The white one.
God,
the
sick.
white one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna get the blue one then.
Hey, did you guys see those retro truck ones that I think Raja was wearing one of them?
I almost bought one of those, but I bought a Raja Caruth shirt instead and a Wheel of Modified Tour shirt. They had a few of those.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude,
I'm excited.
it was awesome.
I'm excited to go to the track in June. Oh man.
And they have the Dale Jr. Bud Hauler, which
Wait, it's like a Bud Hauler?
it is just for the Dale Jr. Bud merch.
Crazy. I mean, I'm assuming
He
it's
has
a
his
little
own hauler
one.
for just
it's
that.
a little one, or is it?
It's a smaller
Okay.
one.
Okay.
It's a smaller one, but it's not like tiny. It's not like a enclosed trailer. Like it's a hauler, you know. But that one's dangerous because you walk up to it and you're like, how do I? I mean, how am I gonna walk away from this without buying one of these? Like, I have to get something. I have to. This all looks too good. It's the most dangerous hauler there because everything in there looks good, and it's like, how do I say no? I can't.
I think
it's
that's
impossible.
what saved me when Brad was driving for Penske. It was easy not to buy stuff because it all looked the same and it all just kind of looked you know.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this on the show, but I didn't realize how much I missed the old 8 font in like the Budweiser car until it came back into my life, and I was like, God damn.
Yeah.
I got so used to 88, I was like, man, this slaps though.
I'm telling you, man, you see those shirts, especially like in person too, and they're like right there and they're super accessible, and you're like, yeah, man, that's coming with me. And like I originally was like, no, I don't know, I don't think I can. And Lauren like took my card and was like, I'm gonna go get one, and I was like, okay, do it.
I dare you.
And she did.
Road Pro moment, Matt.
Honestly, just like my whole weekend. Like I went and camped on the coast. Like my whole dad's side of the family was there. Watched the Daytona 500 on the beach, which is
Heck yeah,
like
Pretty
an
cool.
experience. I really felt like I was like back in time in the 50s when they used to race on the beach, and I was like, damn, this is pretty cool. Yeah, just like hung out around a campfire when it was way too cold. Watched the Xfinity race. Then we watched the start of the Cup race. It got rained out. Played wiffle ball for 2 hours, and then when we finished, it was like, oh hey, the race is back on. Okay. And my dad was like,
Sick, dude.
yeah, they paused it so we could play wiffle ball. Yeah, so it was a good
awesome.
time.
Cool.
I love those vibes. When we were in the lake house in last May, and the Indy 500 was going on while we're out there, like Weaver's cooking on the grill, we're in the lake, like
That's awesome.
people are like fucking paddling around and stuff like that, like unreal vibes. The TV was turned up so we could hear the Indy 500. Oh, dude, yeah, it's good stuff. Recommend it. Any race fan out there, grab some buds, do something like that.
Yeah.
Joe?
I was trying to
You
get
getting away with
that
that?
one.
Heck
I'm
no.
not gonna lie, I
I don't
wasn't
really have
entirely
one
sure
this
if Joe
week.
had gone yet.
I
I
don't really
was
have
like,
one this
shit,
week.
did Joe already say one? I don't know.
I went and saw the new Captain America. Thought it was good. I enjoyed
Nice.
it. So,
Did you? I haven't seen it yet.
yeah, it was great. I
I-
really like the part of the movie where Captain America goes, Captain America, and says his catchphrase, I'm Captain America, you know?
And then he Captain America all over those guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part.
I
When
appreciate
he says the title of the movie.
I
Guess
appreciate
we're gonna enter a brave new world.
Have you guys ever seen that Twitter page where it's like incorrect movie quotes, where it's just like people like my favorite one is it's like the scene from Into the Spider-Verse where Miles is taking his leap of faith, and but the subtitles say like, it's at that moment I knew I was entering the Spider-Verse. Or like they always name drop the title and
Yes, dude. I like that
those
page.
crack me up. Also, Harrison Ford's hatred for playing Han Solo made me think that he just hates being in movies now. No, he just hates Star Wars. Because, like, he keeps doing Indiana Jones movies, and then he did this, and I was like, oh, I thought he was, like, done. Apparently, he just hates Star Wars that much.
He's also doing like a Yellowstone prequel show.
Yeah, I
now,
saw that one, too.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I saw that.
so
I didn't
it
watch
was
it, but
it was funny. Someone I saw one of his like media tour pieces, and someone asked him like, "Oh, is there footage out there of you doing like the mocap for?" Again, this isn't a spoiler. Wait, Davey, is this a spoiler because it was in the trailers? Am I allowed to say stuff that's in trailers for the movie?
I ended up seeing the trailer. What was in the trailer that I didn't want to see on accident. So yeah, you're good.
I'm not going to watch
know,
it, so I don't care.
You know, his character has an alter ego,
Yeah.
and it's all CGI. So, you know, they're like the interviewer asks him, "Oh, is that footage out there, or was part of your contract to not have that footage out there?" And he goes, "How did you know?" And it's just I like Harrison Ford. He seems like a silly guy.
Yeah.
Don't know if he's done anything bad. Probably has. Hope everyone's okay. Anyhow.
Oh, I'm so mad I don't have the clip from The Fugitive where he's like, I didn't kill my wife on my soundboard right now. Damn it.
That'd be a good one.
That would be a
We
good
grab
one.
that one.
That would be a good one. All right, folks. Well, that was Fake Racers Podcast this week. I will not be here next week, so these two knuckleheads will be holding down the fort. Maybe they'll have a third. I don't know. Maybe. You guys are more than welcome to, of course. I know no one can fill my shoes, but maybe they can fill my
That's
chair.
true.
Obviously.
So
We're gonna have them green screen themselves into your room.
We're gonna fly Joseph Weaver out to your room.
He's gonna film on location.
Honestly,
I'd be scared.
that might be something we try. I know your roommate's name. I know it again.
Okay.
So you know.
All right. Cool.
It's gonna be warm when you get back.
Cool. Folks, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you think of the show. We appreciate you as always. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything.
Hey Joe, you want to know something funny?
What's that?
You're nuts.
Thanks for watching the Fake Racers podcast this week, folks. We'll see you guys next week after Atlanta. I'll see you in 2 weeks after Coda.
Goodbye.
Coder.